Alright, so welcome back, and sorry for the lighting. It is the time of day, it's the middle of winter. I don't have much daylight to do these kind of things with the lighting outside. Anyway, we're back in the car. The master cylinder, the clutch master cylinder, has finally arrived. This came from Lithuania, I think it was. And this was a nightmare to find. This took me about 2 days of searching just to find the correct part number because Renault don't make it. The correct part number from Renault you can't find, even from OEMs. It just doesn't match. And most of the ones for sale online are weirdly for left-hand drive vehicles only. I don't know why there would be a difference, but nevertheless, that's just what it is. So what I'm going to try and do now is replace. I'm going to show you as well. I'm going to try and take out the bottom of the dashboard, and I'm going to try and show you something to help you understand the stiffness in the pedal. So the pedal is attached to a bar, and that whole bar moves when you're pushing in the clutch pedal. That shouldn't be the case. That should be a solid, stiff thing. So I'm going to try and show you that now. And then I'm not sure how I'm going to be able to film actually changing the master cylinder because I need two hands and there's no lighting and there's nowhere for me to mount the phone. It's just a small space. So I might just do it, then take the car out for a drive. Hopefully this fixes the problem. If it doesn't, I'm just going to sell the car and say it has a clutch issue. But yeah, I mean, this is one of those things where it is a service item. It's one of those things where you have to be, it does get changed eventually. It's not something that lasts the lifetime of the car, the same way the clutch does. So I'm surprised that Renault doesn't make it. I'm surprised that no other OEMs have it available as well. And I wasn't going to buy a used one, sorry. So yeah, let me get started on that, and I'll be back with you shortly, hopefully. All right, so here is the assembly under the pedal. This is what it's attached to. Wait, I'm gonna have to keep the phone. Can you see everything is moving as I pump the pedal? Now the issue with that is that shouldn't be the case. This should be a completely solid, structure. And the clutch pedal should not be that difficult. I can't quite capture the sound that it's making because I'm telling you, it's making a sound as if water is being let in. Like it's the same sound as you'd have if you had a hole in a water bottle. You squeezed it and then you let go of the water bottle. So the small air bubbles are coming in. It's that sound. I can't capture it on camera because it's too quiet. But yeah, I'm going to get to the master cylinder now. I'm going to get it changed and then we'll go out for a drive and see how this does. Alright, so now the new master cylinder is in. Exceptionally fiddly job. I would not recommend it to anyone. You could do it, you just need to have done it before, if that makes sense. So here's what we're working with now. So here is everything in, bolted up. Now I have this towel here just to see, this is just water because I was drying my hands and stuff and it's raining outside. So now I'm just waiting to see if it leaks. I've got the pressure bleeder on. So what I've got now going, I've got all this connected, this all done. I thought I had to take all this off because there was a hose that went from the master cylinder, but I can just disconnect the old one. So now I'm going to get some pressure into this. I'm going to wait to see if it leaks once the pressure's in, then bleed the entire system. Hopefully we can see the air bubble that's in the new master cylinder, and then I'm either going to take it for a drive now. Yeah, probably go for a drive now. Alright, let me just get to the bleeding and then I'll be back shortly. Alright, so here's just a little explanation of what I'm doing right now. The bleeder up to 10 psi, if you can see that. Making sure this isn't leaking. And more importantly, making sure none of the hoses and the connections inside the car are leaking. So like I showed you, again, I have the towel down. Look. Now this is a pressurized system. Ignore the stains, that's from me. But if there was a leak in the system, you just see basically a drop there of golden orange fluid, maybe a bit darker as well because the old fluid wasn't great. It was kind of brown, almost brown. So it'll be clear on the towel. So yeah, so far it's holding at 10 psi perfectly fine. So I think I'm going to open the bleed nipple and start bleeding the system. hopefully we can get a big fat air bubble out. Alright, so first stage of the bleeding process, as there the level's normal, in there the pressure is still up, and this is how much I've bled. If you can see there, barely anything basically, but despite that, a huge amount of air bubbles came out and then stopped, so it was clean fluid. So what I'm going to try and do now, pump the clutch a couple of times, then do another round, and then hopefully it should be consistent, just if there's anything left to make sure. Alright, it is the next day. As you can see, the car is moving, which is a good sign. Changing the master cylinder was an absolute nightmare, to be honest with you, but learned a lot of lessons. So at the moment, I've finally managed to bleed the clutch. That was a whole process that I could finish yesterday evening in the dark, so I couldn't film a video, couldn't test the car, had to get someone to help me pump the clutch. It was a whole deal. But now things feel very different. So initially, getting in the car, clutch was spongy, but the bite point was a lot more predictable, and the torque was a lot more feelable. Like the way the car clutch bites, you could feel a lot more. So I could just basically release the clutch in first gear and the car will be rolling. That didn't happen before. Now I can release the clutch in second gear and the car will be rolling. That didn't happen before. The bite point is maybe 20% off the floor of the clutch pedal. That wasn't the case before. It was about 50% before. I still think there is a little bit of air in the system. It's not inconsistent, it's not spongy, it's not nice. Okay? But let's go for a short little drive here. So I've obviously, driven the car, but there's a few things we need to discuss. First of all, the things that we've learned. The first thing I've learned is this car is not well engineered. The way this car feels is very much like an afterthought. So the clutch master cylinder sits basically above the clutch pedal inside the car. There is a hose that goes from that through the firewall of the car. The new clutch master cylinder came with that hose, which is good. So when it came with it, I thought it was a part, like they were one part. So I attempted to change it. In order to replace the hose on the clutch master cylinder, which is something that can go wrong at any time, that should be a serviceable part kind of situation, I would have had to take the turbo off the engine. See what I mean? Along with the situation with the drive shafts, the clutch, even watching people do the clutch, not being able to take out the gearbox because the gearbox and engine are too big for this car. Everything feels like it wasn't meant to happen this way, which is not nice. I'll tell you what it feels like. It feels like Renault didn't intend for this car to have a long life or to have the services of these parts in the future, if that makes sense. When changing the clutch master cylinder itself, when taking out the hose, the clutch master cylinder came with these plugs so you can plug in the lines. Obviously they're dust caps in with what you're buying, but then you can use them as plugs because the hoses are identical. I used the plugs, would still leak fluid everywhere. If you're doing it yourself, cap the lines with something. You need to clamp them off. Fuel, I've probably put about 30 pounds of fuel in it so far, which is a lot more than I expected actually, because there was the testing for the clutch to see what the issue was. By the way, now there's no clutch smell either. That was the thing that was plaguing me before. Now there's nothing. Not 10%, like before it was like 100% and then it went down to 10% when I bled the system. Now it's nothing. There was no slip, no clutch, no smell, no nothing. The pedal's just a bit spongy, and I think that's because it's still bleeding, because I was supposed to bench bleed the master cylinder and I couldn't. But yeah, I'd say it's about 80% of the way there in terms of pedal feel. Sorry. So yeah, now let's talk numbers. So the car itself is £418. The boot mechanism, start at the back, was £40. We fixed the grounding for the taillight issue for free. The pipe that fixed the limp mode was £20. So that's how much, £478. I initially bought the clutch, that was £101. I bought the jack stands to do the clutch, but I'm not going to include them because I returned the clutch, but I'm going to use the jack stands for something else. And then the brake fluid, that was £23, and the pressure bleeder was £21 on eBay. I think in total, and then obviously a bit of fuel, so a bit of whatever. So I think we're about £580, somewhere along those lines in terms of cost. The main problem that we faced was, like I told you in the previous video, content velocity. So the problem that you have is, for example, the clutch master cylinder on this alone took 2 weeks to arrive from Lithuania because the part was simply not available in the UK, and Renault UK doesn't even stock it. I've tried to buy it directly from Renault. They don't produce this part anymore. Another issue is trying to get the wheels off. You need a special wheel key, like I showed you again, I think it was in the last video. That took 4 days to arrive. Then I needed the locking wheel nut. That took another 4 or 5 days to arrive. All the tools, the clutch, returning the clutch, the pressure bleeder. So the main issue was how long it took parts to arrive, and in some cases taking a part off to discover that you need something else and it not being available. And yeah, apart from that, I mean, theoretically you could do a YouTube channel, but goodness gracious, I've worked on a few cars. I've worked on some German cars, and German cars, no matter the engine, no matter the situation, everything feels like it's engineered to be there. This one feels like it absolutely is not engineered. This engine is not engineered to be in this car. This was never in the cards for them. But yeah, it's finally finished. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe, okay? It's a big help. Please like, please share, please leave your comments. Let me know your thoughts on the situation. The fact that I spoke to 5 different professionals who were adamant the clutch was gone. So yeah, that's where we are now. The car's finished. Please subscribe. Please like, please share your comments. And hopefully we'll be able to get it gone and get something else in, hopefully equally interesting. To be honest, I've learned quite a lot on this car, because genuinely, you know, if you feel a clutch slip, you think it's the clutch. That's just what it is. So the fact that we're here now is actually quite good. I'm proud that this car's actually done now. And yeah, thank you for your time. Take care and goodbye.